So back to the face, and just gonna do a couple things here. I'm gonna clean up some geometry, mostly right here in these sections, here and here, and then I'll go ahead and continue the rest of finishing off the rest of the head. So for this part, just gonna go ahead and start cleaning this up little bit by little bit. And I'm only going to do one side at a time. And I'm going to try to keep those quads all the way throughout. So I'm going to start by, you know what? I'm just going to make some random cuts up until I see something that I might like, because I want to keep my edge loops all nice and neat. And something like this, maybe. Okay, and see if that did it. Okay, so that does that. And this one should be looping straight around. Okay. So going back off of that reference I showed in the first part, combine. Okay. I've got cleaner edge loops now going around here and here and here and here and all the way through. Might have gotten rid of this one that I want to keep, so I'm going to need to fix that in the meantime. And let's see here. Okay, that's not exactly where I want it to be. Okay, so for the time being, go ahead and get rid of some of these edges that I don't really probably need. And triangles aren't the worst thing to have, but I would much rather prefer not to have any. Okay, so then for now I'll do something like that. And there we go. Okay, so next thing is next. All I'm doing is just going through, and this is a bit confusing probably for most of you, but it's something that I need to keep in mind. I'd rather have it go around the bridge, so from here down and around. And that should get that edge loop back. Except one more thing is okay. Alright, starting to get there a little bit. Okay. And I'm almost done with this. I'm just trying to figure out the correct topology to go with. This one. Here. For now, this will do. Okay. It's not going around the bridge, but it's going around the nose, so for now I'm pleased with it, but generally I'd want to go back and make sure that I had this edge loop running right around that course. And I'll give it one more little try here. And I think that did it. There we go. So there we go. Got the edge loop running around the bridge, down around the chin. I've got actually two of them, technically. So that's not too bad of a thing. But also, I have all of these edge loops around the face, which are most important for mouth movements. And it just took a little bit. It takes a little brain power to kind of evaluate and look where some of these things need to be adjusted by and where and things like that. Mostly it takes practice, as I found. That the more practice I had at figuring out where I wanted my edge loops and stuff, I was able to visually see it easier. Something like that. And then I also have this one that runs around, and I have the ones that run around the eye socket itself. So now I'm ready to continue pushing forward. Zoom in. All right. Okay. So now, it's starting to look like a face. Come over here, and I'm going to take a sphere now that I'm ready. Pop this over here, and we're simply shaping this to the skull, and that's pretty good. Something about there. Over here, bring these in, and move this back. And I'm going to delete some of these faces here. Okay. Delete. And delete. And probably one more. And that's the start of my skull. I could even delete maybe one more edge loop here. Actually, probably one more. And the thing is, our heads aren't totally sphere. Our face is more or less flat. Our skull is really the only part that's got a spherical shape, round shape. But then, even then, the sides aren't rounded; they're flat. So we start our head with something like this, and just matching the reference. It's always good to put shading, wireframe on shaded. Certainly helps. And I'm going to just simply start to, I don't know how many divisions I'm going to need here yet. I'll start with 3. If I need more, I can add more. And I will need to make sure that I merge those verts in a second. And okay. And let's see here. Man, it looks like I really only actually needed one for the time being. Okay, so there's that. Okay. So now, let's take another look at it here. Alright. So from here to here, extrude down. And here's where we need to start figuring out how to combine these. I start by generally just sort of matching up the ones that I've got, the edge loops that I've got already. And this one, and I'm just merging these. I guess I could do this one too. Now I need to add a bunch of edge loops in here. You could end these up in a triangle and kind of not have to, but for the sake of speed, I'm just going to go ahead and 1, 2. So there we go, I've got the start of my skull forming. And oops. All right, there's that. Alright, so I'm just pulling, extruding, nothing that hasn't been done already. So we've got the start of this full skull going. Shading, wire very much shaded. One thing that does kind of not work out so well with all those edge loops is you do start to see it here, which can be fixed, but even when it's smooth, you still get that really weird sort of indentation of the surface, so that needs to be fixed. I also have some weird indentation here. I won't mind it when I have it going around the lifelines exactly, but for the time being it's not. But the edge loops are all good and everything's sort of in place. So good so far there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep sort of just pulling down. Hate it when it does that. I want it to go the opposite way around my edge loops, so I'm just going to have to double click in segments, extrude down, check your reference, something like that. Okay, so it's looking funky, but let's go ahead and turn on Symmetry. Just matching it up to my reference a little bit closer. It's always good to use the soft select tool as well. Not too bad. Alright, now hate when that happens. Okay, so just gotta fix this up just slightly because it didn't add divisions evenly. Just doesn't like to do that sometimes. Could be because I had symmetry on. And just for ease, for the sake of time and stuff, I'm going to add the ear in really quickly here. Make sure you follow your reference. So actually in here, I'm going to have this part here form his ear actually. And this part I'm going to have be his jawline, and then here I'm going to bridge the two. Oh, Command Z. I need to undo that because I need to turn off symmetry when I do that. Same thing to this side. Okay, I've got the little indentation for where I want the ear to be. So, I don't know why it's stopping there. That's kind of strange. Oh, maybe merge these, merge this. Just double check everything's merged. Okay. I'm going to turn symmetry back on. Okay, something, it's not reading it as being perfectly symmetrical, so just for that sake alone, probably best if I delete the other half. And actually first I'm going to average these verts. And then I'm going to go ahead and fix this. And there we go. Now that that's put into place, I will go ahead and delete the other half, turning off symmetry. And then try to make sure you grab just the center ones if possible. It's going to be a little bit more tricky now, for me anyway. Hopefully that will work. We'll find out right now, and it did, I believe, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to now form out the ear. And I'm just going to do that by extruding out slightly, and then extrude out one more time. Rotate it. Alright. Maybe bring this in. Actually, add divisions to faces. Okay. And now I'll actually bring this edge in, so I can sort of keep the shape of that ear in place. In here I could do something like so, bring it in a little bit, and once it gets textured, it should be totally fine. And we got a weird little issue here. Don't know how that happened, but I'm going to fix it right now. And I'm just merging these to center. Okay, there's that. And I mean, for this demo, it's pretty good. All be fixed and made look much more like a ear shape with a texture. For here, I'm going to average these verts, try to flatten it out a little bit, give it more of a ear look. Okay, oops. And I'm just shaping it out to the ear. Okay. And we've got an ear on our guy. As for the rest of it, from this point on, pretty much just left to extruding down and shaping it out a little bit. And always make sure that you're, well, obviously following your references. It's a little bumpy, but it'll do. For this demo anyway. So you got the face here. I'd like to get a little extra geometry in here and a little bit extra in here. But I mean, for the most part, it is what it is. It's pretty solid for the actual topology on it at the moment. So one of the things that I would really like to figure out how to use, like the old one was in Maya 2015. I like the sculpting tool much better. At least maybe I gotta just get used to this one, but I'm gonna try it again. Try the sculpt tool and open up my tool settings. And I don't smooth tool. So what they used to have was just the sculpt tool, and then they'd have a bunch of different settings on it. I'll make sure my mesh is selected, and then I'll try that same tool again. And I should be able to smooth out some of these areas, but I just don't like the way it does it. Shading, wireframe unshaded. Try this one. I mean, I guess it's okay, but I certainly felt like the other one was just a little bit more natural feeling. This one feels a little wonky. But it is certainly helping a little bit. Ooh. Something like in here. Try to space these out. So I don't have that hard looking weird edge on it. Maybe this will help a little bit. And that's using the smooth tool. Having a little bit more geometry in here would certainly help it out a bit. Sculpting tools. To give it more of a humanized look. And then I'll try a smooth tool, see what happens. And it actually like to pull out that jaw just a bit. And I'm not going to have this, in this case, look exactly like my reference. This is just sort of showing how to get the beginnings of sculpting and modeling a face. This is something that you'd want to start to begin to probably bring into ZBrush or Mudbox or some high poly kind of sculpting. There we go. Maybe his mouth's much smaller after that, so I'm going to start to using my soft select and my mirroring tool. Bring that back out. And let's take a look at it with wireframe and shade it off. And it started to help that sit little area right there, so I'm going to try to average these verts. Sort of drag those back out. Same thing here. Same thing here. These are just like little fine details to go through and do. Just averaging each one a couple times. Just trying to get rid of the really rough edge. And let's see how it's helping. And it certainly is helping. Okay. Go back in here. Alrighty then. Here I would like to have a little extra geometry going through because it's all weird looking here. I can probably pull this out here, get it a little bit more normal looking. Let me make sure I've got symmetry on. That'll help. And I'm just starting to form out some of these other verts. Get the shape looking a little bit cleaner. I got something weird here I don't like. So I'll leave this triangle in here for the ear, actually. Smooth it out. This is looking really, really strange. Try that sculpting tool one more time to sort of fix that up. Smooth tool in this case. That's not really doing much. Not much at all. So let's try the sculpting tool and see if I can just sort of get this looking a little bit more normal. And now let's try pinch foot. There we go, sort of got that out. It's just a little bit too out for me. Alright. And if I hold control, that should be the opposite of sculpting out. It should sculpt in. Let's see. Yeah, I think that is working. And the cool part about this tool is that it really gives you a lot of a little extra freedom to make what you're trying to look for and achieve at least. Get those laugh lines in there. And now if you take a look at it, wireframe unshaded, bring these back slightly. You see we got the laugh line sort of going from here. The edge loops are all good. Got our robin mask. Our edge loops around the eyes. It's always good to double check these things. I got the edge loop going around here. The mouth region. So that is really the most important part of this whole process. And then let's give the ear a shot at the sculpting. I doubt I'll be able to get much detail in there without creating more subdivisions. But yeah, so I'll try one more pass at the ear. Sculpting tool, smooth tool. No, there's just not enough geometry in there to really get the look we're going for an actual ear, so we can just sort of imply it for the time being. That just does not seem right. Mesh tools, smooth tool, let's try this again. And I don't think it's too bad. I think in smooth mode and smooth preview mode, it's a little bit too far indented, but I'd say that's pretty good. Once you get a texture on there, it'll be really good, and once you get hair on them, and then anytime you need to, this skull might even be slightly too big. There we go. Alright, so a little bit better. Not looking too shabby. I could fix this, and I don't mind the way it looks here. It kind of gives them some eyebrow look to it, and I could always fix that, but for the most part, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out at this point. I got all my edge loops in there. If I were to start to sculpt this out, give it more geometry, I could really do a lot more on it. But as for a base mesh, now with all this extra geometry, I could really start to get some way finer detail in there. But with this as a base mesh, I'm totally pleased with it. It works really well. Just need to get some hair on them or something like that. But yeah, anyway, that's basically how you model a face from beginning to end. As far as just getting the base mesh there. Hope you enjoyed. If I was going to do one last thing, I would create the little sock in the mouth. I'm not going to bother right now, but I hope you enjoyed.